Hi everybody, it's Barb Egan. Thank you for joining us again. Here's our second video. So really quickly, I'll just recap the first one of where we focused on routine. It was kind of introductory or an introduction to me, that you get to know me, because that's what we know is really the biggest indicator of success, whether it's in sports psychology or counseling or anything, is that you have a rapport or a connection with someone. So I want you to get to know me, that I was an athlete. I played at Shattuck St. Mary's, Ohio State, came up through U.S. Olympic development programs. I was a coach at Ohio State, University of British Columbia, and then Pursuit of Excellence Hockey Academy. So I worked with students, athletes from all over the world that moved to British Columbia, trying to get scholarships, NCAA, U Sport, and very, very successful on the female side as well as the male side of professional NHL, WHL, Junior A, all of those things. And then while I was doing that, I also got a master's in counseling psychology because as an athlete and as a coach, I saw there was this missing gap that yes, we can help with the sports psychology side of things, but we really need not only our mental game, but our mental health to be strong. And so I wanted to work with that. I wanted to equip athletes. I wanted them to be able to make this ripple effect in their communities, in their classroom, in their teams, in their sport, in their lives. Because athletes, they're just natural born leaders. Whether you're vocal or if you lead by example, you're just set apart. You're different. And that's a good different, but that means people are going to be watching you, and that you're held accountable. You're held to a high standard. So we want to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. You have a strong foundation of mental health so that your mental game and your physical game, your performance will increase. So we talked about that, of identifying our priorities. Label your top 3. Schedule them in and do them first if you can in your daily routine. Look at your week or your month, and of course your day, but schedule them in, write them in, have a planner or on your phone, but make sure your priorities are your priorities. If that's training, if that's studying, if that's time with family. So your top 3 priorities, get them in, break it down into the how too. So once you identify what it is, like training, then ask yourself, how am I going to do this? And so break it down even further. And so whether that's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, that training looks like sprints outside followed by core and shooting hoops or shooting pucks or shooting on the goal if you're a soccer player. Identify those, break them down. And then Tuesday, Thursday, maybe those are more mobility days, mental training days where you practice some of these techniques we're going to talk about today, like breathing. Positive self-talk, or what I call power thoughts, and then of course visualization. So we're going to go through that today, but before we get there, I just want to kind of get everybody on the same page, and I want to ask you guys a few questions to see if this is really relevant to you. So let's say I just want you to raise your hand too when you're watching. All right, so how many of you think that increasing or improving your physical strength will make you a better athlete in your sport? You'll perform better if you lift, if you do sprints, if you work on your stretching and your flexibility. Raise your hand. Okay, good. Probably most of us raised your hands there because we all kind of agree that physical strength leads to improved performance. Okay, how many of you do that? Okay, most of you probably raised your hands. And how do you do that? Well, maybe we work with a strength and conditioning coach, a specialized professional in that industry. Maybe we run on our own. We do sprints. We bike. We do lifting. Different things like that. So you do specific things. And so what I just did there is have that goal and break it down into small, manageable, specific things. Okay, how many of you think that improving your mental strength will improve your performance as an athlete in your competition, in your games? Okay, good. Most people are going to raise their hand there, maybe about 80% or higher. How many of you do that? How many of you work on your mental strength or your mental game to improve your performance as an athlete? And that's where the hands kind of go like this. We think it's important, but we don't really know how to implement that practically. So as a former athlete, as a former coach, I work in this. I specialize in this as a mental health professional. I help athletes make a personalized mental routine or a mental workout. And why that's so important is because when we have a consistent routine, we become more confident. We feel like we've put in the work, so we're naturally more confident. We feel prepared, not only physically prepared, like we've been doing strength and conditioning. We have those Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, all scheduled out, but we also have our mental routine. So when we feel physically prepared, that we've put in the work, we're ready to perform, imagine if you felt mentally prepared too. You felt that much more stable, that much more stronger, that much more confident. You're going to be more confident, you're going to play more confident, you're going to be more consistent too. And probably you're going to have a lot more enjoyment, a lot more passion in the game because you feel like you really put in the effort. And so that's what we're going to talk on today. Going to talk on a personalized mental workout because what that's going to lead to is consistency and confidence, which probably we all want in our life because that is the number one indicator of success, whether it's in sport or in life. If we are consistent, we will be confident. And if we believe we can do it, we are much more likely to do it. So Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. So the power of the mind is incredible to really build that confidence muscle. So practically, we're going to do that today. So first, I'm going to just kind of go over what are some of the reasons people work with me or work on their mental health or mental game of why we actually need to improve our confidence, our consistency, because this isn't natural for pretty much every one of us. So for example, some of those things that I work in, probably the number one thing I work in is anxiety, whether it's in just regular counseling, how to manage stress, or sports specific, whether you're a high performance athlete all the way to professional or Olympian performance athlete. How do I prepare well for a game? How do I feel confident? How do I become consistent? How do I play like I practice? Some of us are really good practice players when the pressure's off, but then in the game, under pressure, we collapse. So different things like that. So some of the common issues that I see in the mental game are, why do some players score a lot and other players of equal talent rarely score at all? So maybe you're in a scoring slump. How do some stay focused during pressure and not get distracted? That's a huge one. That focus is a key there. How do we remain focused, especially under pressure? And so what we're going to talk on today, that mental routine, that will help. How do I rise to the occasion instead of collapse under pressure? Think of a recent game that you played that was of high importance. Maybe it was a playoff game, a championship game, a tryout. How did you perform? Did you perform to your peak or did you collapse under that pressure? And for me, I was a goaltender. I've won back-to-back national championships, but I've also lost national championships. I've been at the Olympic Training Center for Team USA in Lake Placid, New York, home of Miracle on Ice in 1980. And I've played really well. I hold a record for shutouts, but I've also let in a really poor 5-hole goal. So that pressure and that performance is very unique there. What is the best way to prepare for a game? That's a common one. And really, there's no right or wrong answer completely. It's very personalized. How do I play consistently game in and game out? So most of us, we have really long seasons. And how do I bring that passion, that enjoyment? How do I not get burnt out? It's a long year. And I know that as an athlete and as a coach, how to motivate my players, how to motivate myself when I really didn't feel like it. How do I get back from an injury? So like I shared, my story is a lot of injury of 3 major wrist reconstructions. I've had 2 knee surgeries. How do I come back from an injury? And even how do I transition out of my sport? What's my identity without that? Because we all end up in beer league, like I mentioned, even Wayne Gretzky. How do I get in the zone? So I was a goalie. So I was prepared one way for a game. I like to be kind of loose, not too overthinking of the game where I'd psych myself out. I like to juggle. I like to do this breathing, that positive focus or power thoughts of specific things, and get in that zone. And so we're going to talk about that. And then some other things. How do I play well when I'm not getting a lot of playing time? So maybe you're not on the first line, or maybe you're just a sub, but you're not getting a ton of playing time, and you want to be ready to go when you do get your chance. How do I make the most of the chance that I'm given? And then let's kind of end. How can I be mentally tougher? How do I increase my confidence? That's usually a big one. Whether it's mentally tough or confident, most of us want to be that and grow in that. So, for example, in handling pressure, because that's a big one, there's nerves. How do I keep consistent when I'm nervous or I'm in a big pressure game? So, basically, to improve consistency, especially in those high pressure situations, we want to develop a routine, a personalized mental workout. So, just like previously, you identified your priorities in just this time period now for training. You want to identify your priorities or your focus for that day, that game, based on your practices. So this is something you want to do at practice so that you're ready for the game. You want to make them as similar as possible. So a routine with specific focus on what to focus on at practice. Maybe pick 3 things. Maybe even just start with 1 to focus on at practice. So then when you go to a game, you just have that 1 thing to focus on, that 3 things to focus on, instead of thinking about every little thing you have to do. Because if you went out in practice and thought about, okay, I have to run, I have to kick the ball, I have to keep my head up, I have to talk to my teammate, I need to look over here, quick shoulder check, I need to kick the ball, I have to move my foot in this angle, da-da-da-da-da. If you were going through and saying those things or thinking those things aloud, that would be very robotic, very unnatural, and it would really kind of make you stumble, probably. You want to have a routine where it's consistent enough that it just becomes second nature. Just like if you go out and pass the ball with some friends. It's just second nature. You don't need to think about what you're going to do or the angle of your foot or anything like that. So this personalized mental workout you could do before games, before practices, between shifts, on the bench for hockey or any of those sports that you have that shift play, so you're not on the field or on the ice the entire game, or an individual sport where, like swimming, if you're just gearing up for your show time and then the rest is downtime, or if you make a mistake, because all of sports is there's mistakes, and that's okay, and it'll help us refocus, get ready to go to the next shift, the next play, the next game. Okay, so to start, I want you to just think about describing your own game. What kind of player, what kind of athlete are you? So are you a goal scorer? Are you a playmaker? Are you a grinder? Are you a hard worker? Do you hustle? Are you a goalie? What kind of player, what kind of athlete are you? Describe it. Then what are some of your goals? So if we boiled it down to right now, wherever you're at in your season, what are your goals? The long-term ones, so maybe to make it to university or professionally, but the more short-term ones, think about the next 6 months, 3 months even, the next year. What are some of your goals for it? What are some of your recent performances? So what have some of your most recent games been like? Were you in your groove? Were you in a slump? Were you kind of up and down? What are your strengths? And this is going to be the main focus of today, because then we're going to build on confidence and consistency in our next talk. But strengths. So I want you to think of your best qualities as an athlete. And I want them to be broken down in the physical play, like what makes you a skilled player. So do you have a great shot? Can you read the play really well? Are you agile and explosive, strong? Those physical strengths. Think of also some areas of mental strength. Do you not get too down when you make a mistake? Are you able to rise back up, be resilient, bounce back? How about that emotional strength, keeping kind of emotionally even keel? You don't get too high or too low. You don't let your emotions get the best of you. And as a teammate, what kind of character are you? That integrity. So all of those strengths, think of. And in all of these, you can go back and listen to this, but I want you to write them down, because it makes sense up here, but when we really write it down, it becomes real. and it really cements in. Next is our areas of improvement. So again, I don't want you to dwell on this or beat yourself up, but just pick a few areas that you want to really improve in. Realistic areas. Maybe it is so your shot. You want to become more accurate. You want to have a quicker release. Be specific. Okay, and then finally, what are some of your concerns or areas that you want to grow in? These can be goals of growth. So before, those goals could look like, making it professionally, or this in this next few months, this is where I want to be. I want to make this team, or I want to have this role on this team. I want to have a stronger shot, things like that. But what are some of your mental goals or concerns? What are your ways to grow right now? Maybe in your mental health of ability to handle stress. Maybe in your mental game, the ability to be more consistent, more confident, be a better teammate, things like that. So again, describing your game, what kind of athlete are you? What are your goals, long term, and then that short term, a year and under? Your recent games or performances, where were you in the season? Highs and lows, were you in a slump, were you in your stride, that sort of thing. Areas of improvement, some concerns or areas of that growth, the growth goals that you want for that mental game. And then the big one that I'm going to hone in on now is your strengths, so to increase your confidence. And to do this, I want you to get a blank piece of paper, and I want you to label it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And maybe to get some inspiration, some homework for you is to even watch ESPN or TSN SportsCenter top 10 highlight reels. Go on YouTube, look at some inspiring highlight reels, because we're going to make your own. And they don't have to be these amazing between the legs shootout game-winning goals. They can be the simple things that you build on. Often with confidence, that's how it acts. It's like a snowball, the simple things, and they grow and grow and grow as you keep doing them. So I want you to write down all 10. And there's probably a lot more, but it could feel like, oh, I'm blanking out. I don't even know what to put. And that is a little bit of anxiety or overwhelmed performance anxiety, where we don't know where to start. So what do? We don't start. So this is an exercise to make you start. And if you can't get 10, that's okay, but try to at least get 5. And if you need help, ask some coaches, ask your parents, ask some teammates. But I want you to think back to this past season of some of your top games or your top practices. And it can even be last season or throughout your career, but try to make them as most recent, because that's probably our best memories. Maybe it was a championship game. Maybe it was a game-winning goal. Maybe it was an amazing race. And they could really be in practice too. It was just when you were in the zone, you're having fun, your passes were just on point, tape to tape, or whatever your sport is. Again, my background's hockey, so a lot of my examples are going to be hockey related. But just think back to that. And it doesn't have to be, again, those big moments. It's often those little things. Maybe you were communicating well. Maybe you were moving your feet. You had your head up. You were communicating with your teammates, you were reading the plays well, you scored, and where on the goalie. So be as specific as possible if you can too. What time in the period was it, or in the game? Was it right off the hop? Was it in the second period? Was it with a minute left? Or even strength? Was it power play or PK? Things like that. And again, this might take some time. And if you need to get some inspiration, go to YouTube, watch these things, SportsCenter Top 10 Highlight Reel, and I want you to write down your own version of it. So watch some clips of you if you have it. Again, ask those trusted people in your sphere, but think about what you're doing when you're playing your best, when you are in the zone, when you're having the most fun. What are the littlest things that you're doing, like tape-to-tape passes, but all those big things too? Maybe it was a really big play or big goal. And I want you to keep this list somewhere where you can see it, maybe on your mirror in your room. And you can keep adding to it. You can refer back to it. You can build confidence on your past successes. You're basically reminding yourself that you can do this. And this is a tactic that you can apply to other arenas or other areas of your life too, when you're feeling kind of low or uncertain, overwhelmed. So, right now we're in a period of COVID and it's full of uncertainty. It's definitely overwhelming. You can be stressed out. There's a lot out of your control. So, think back to a previous time that you handled uncertainty or feeling stressed or overwhelmed. How did you handle it? What was good about how you handled it? So use that, keep doing it. How do you wish you handled it? So now, this gift of perspective, when you're looking back and reflecting on it, you get to choose what you would do differently. And so maybe if it was a test, for example, something outside of your sport, and you're really nervous for it, but you didn't study that much because you were nervous and you just didn't make the time for it. You procrastinated. So some anxiety, some performance anxiety there again. So maybe next time you will look at the date of when the test is. You're going to circle it on your calendar. And you're going to work backwards. You're going to use that routine. You're going to put it in your calendar to study from 5 to 7 p.m. every night leading up to it for that week, and you're going to stick to it like you would an appointment. And then you're going to probably feel more prepared for that test, and you're probably going to do better. So that's that little tactic that we can use there. So when we use that overarching goal and we break it down into small, more manageable goals, that's good for goal setting, that's good for stress management, for anxiety, things like that. And it's really important to write it out. That's really important. We can convince ourselves of anything up here, but when we write it out, it becomes more likely that we're going to do it, and we feel more in control, more empowered. And when we feel more confident, more empowered, more in control, we feel much less stressed out, much less anxious. So we're more likely to enjoy ourselves and perform our best. And often it really helps to work with someone, talk it out with someone. We were not made to do this alone. Just like in team sports, you don't play hockey alone. You don't play soccer alone. You work with a team. You work with a professional, even a coach. Even in that, back to that analogy, mental toughness and physical toughness, improving them, we often become better athletes. Same thing with our physical health. We take care of ourselves, how we eat, our rest and sleep, our nutrition, our exercise, all of that. Same is true with our mental health, even more so. If we are physically healthy, that's great, but we need to be mentally healthy to be at the top of our mental game as well. But just in our life, we're only going to be the better version of ourselves. So just like we work with a strength and conditioning coach to get physically stronger to improve our performance, it's important to work with a mental coach at times too, whether that's to get mentally stronger, mentally tougher, work on that mental game, or work on some stuff in your own personal life of that mental health side of stuff too. So again, I'd be honored to work with you. My name's Barb Egan. I own Alive Counseling in Kelowna, British Columbia. So you can always email me, check out my website, and we can set up a coaching call. I do all online sessions as well. So to sum all of that up, and if you have any questions on this, feel free to contact me. But let's implement some sort of little mental routine, a mental workout, so to speak. So just like a physical workout, let's warm up with some breathing. So I'd like you to do this for 1 or 2 minutes, or you can do even more if you want, but just to warm yourself up, kind of shift gears, get in the zone. So this could be done on your way to practice, in the car. It could be done at the rink or at the field. So you're kind of shifting from one gear into the next to get ready to play. And so I'm just going to have you close your eyes. Take a really deep breath. And sometimes it's really helpful to visualize something here. So a mountain, for example. On the big inhale, go all the way up the mountain, hold, and then exhale, come down the mountain. So again, inhale, hold, and exhale. Okay, and we'll go one more time. Inhale, and exhale. So you can time yourself, you can listen to some music. I used to like to juggle when I would do this too, just kind of get in the breathing. or just do nothing but breathing. Close your eyes, kind of shift gears, get in the zone. And again, it's very personal, so build on it, whether it's 1-2 minutes or more. Kind of, if you want to get calmer, do it for longer. If you still like to be at a heightened state, kind of like a 7 out of 10, then you don't have to do it as long. If you like to be more calm, if you like to be more at like a 4 out of 10 when you're performing your best, then maybe do it for a little bit longer. Okay, and then I want you to get into that focus. So the power thoughts. So this is like a power focus or power thoughts, I call it. But what do you want to focus on today? So use that list from your SportsCenter Top 10 highlight reel and pick 1 or 2 things to focus on. Repeat it over and over to yourself in your head. Just that mental voice inside. When in hockey, if you're saying, don't lose the puck, don't lose the puck, don't lose the puck, those pressure thoughts, what happens? You lose the puck. So this is a good replacement filter, a good power thought instead of pressure thought of don't lose the puck. That power thought could be any one of those things on your list of those 10 things to focus on. So just pick 1 or 2 maybe to start. And let's say it's keeping your head up and 90-degree knee bend. So again, very small things. They don't have to be these gigantic, big SportsCenter highlight reel worthy things, but I use that term to make the little things the big things. So again, tape to tape passes, 90-degree knee bend for that stride. And just repeat that over to yourself a few times just in your mental head, your mental voice. This is going to be your power thought to replace any of those pressure thoughts of don't lose the puck, don't lose the ball, you better score. Any of those concerns that I listed earlier. How do I perform? Oh, how do I get more confident? Oh, I'm not playing well. I better not make a mistake. These are the things to replace it with. And then next, I want you to visualize yourself doing it. So this is like your mental image, your mental video. And so I want you to visualize yourself doing it. So if we think back to that SportsCenter highlight reel again, where were you? Try to see where you were, what rink or what field you were at, what color jersey you were wearing, what color jersey you were playing against, where was it in the game? Was it right off the hop? Were you on even strength? Were you on the penalty kill? Was it the last minute of play? See who you were playing with. Where did you get the pass from? What teammates? See them on there. Were they a lefty or a righty? So you got the pass and you went down and scored. Okay, great. Where on the ice did you get that pass? Where on the goalie did you score? Visualize yourself in as much detail as possible to build confidence. So when we replay our past successes, we feel more confident. We believe we can do it. We feel more prepared, just like in a test if you're going to study. We feel more prepared, so we actually perform much better. And we probably enjoy it more because we're less stressed because we know that we put in the work. Visualizing is pretty difficult, although it just seems very easy to do. But try to see yourself as if you're playing a video game, not watching yourself do it, but actually from your mind's eye. Like if you're playing one of those video games, you're looking out of your own eyes and you're doing it. Again, take a lot of time to practice this because it's just like any new skill. You practice it once for an hour, you're not going to get that much better at it. You might just feel a little bit better. So back to that physical strength analogy. If you wanted to get stronger and you did squats for 1 whole hour, just like this, you probably aren't going to get substantially stronger and faster. You're going to be sore tomorrow. But if you do it a little bit every day or every other day, a few times a week, incorporate it consistently into your workout, you're going to look back and say, wow, I've put in the work. I feel better. I am better. I am stronger. I'm jumping higher. I'm sprinting faster. I'm seeing this translate into my performance. Same is true for the mental side. So if you incorporate this just one time today, you're probably not going to see any results. Maybe a little bit, but nothing of any substance. But if you do it a few times a week, if you're consistent at it, even 10 minutes a day, you will look back and see a lot of improvement. And again, these are strategies not just for your sport, but for your life. So the breathing to calm you down, to get in the zone before a big test, before a big meeting, before a social situation that gets you a little nervous. These are things that you can use 10, 20 years from now when you're going into a job interview or a big meeting? Well, you can use the breathing to calm yourself down, get in the zone. You can use those power thoughts when you're feeling down about yourself to replace them. You can visualize yourself going in and killing that meeting, getting that big contract, writing this exam and doing really well. Same thing in sports. And so to cool down then, we're going to breathe again. We're probably got pretty amped up from visualizing. Now we want to kind of come down. We want to do some breathing, maybe about a minute or two again. Again, you could play with it. Get down where you like to be, your optimal performance level. Say out of 10, 10 out of 10 is like you're off the walls, you're jittery. 0 out of 10 is we got to get you some Tim Hortons, you're falling asleep. Where do you like to perform at? Maybe it's a 4. You like to be calm, kind of laid back. Maybe it's more like an 8 where you want to be in control and composed, but energetic and aggressive. So see where you like to be out of 10. Again, that mental check-in, that's a good strategy too. So again, it's that warm up, you're breathing, that mountain breathing for a minute or two. Inhale, hold, exhale, come down the mountain. Then that power focus or power thoughts. So that's from that list of that mental sports center highlight reel of what you can replace any of those pressure thoughts, which can be don't lose the puck, don't make a mistake, you better make the most of this because you don't get a lot of playing time. But what are you doing when you're playing your best, when you're enjoying yourself? Replace it with those 2 things, 3 things. And then visualize yourself doing it. See your previous times. And then when you're getting ready for competition, you can see yourself doing it now. Whatever rank or whatever field you're at, currently you can see yourself. This is the creativity coming out of you because you haven't done it yet. But you're kind of seeing yourself do it before you actually do it. So trying to trick your brain into thinking that you've already done there. You've already been here. You can do this. And then finally, the cool down, breathing. Getting in that zone. So where do you want to be out of 10? If you want to be an 8, listen to some music that helps pump you up too. If you're still a little too jittery and you like to be a 4, try to listen to some music or do some more breathing or juggling like I did to kind of get back into that calm state too. And then finally, go do it. Implement this mental workout. Practice it now. I mean, there's no other better time to get this down so that when you're ready to get back into playing, to practicing, to tryouts, you've already got this down. You already have a routine so that you're already going to be more confident and more consistent. So thank you guys. If you want any help on that, please reach out to me. Barb Egan, I own a live counseling. barbegancounseling@gmail.com is my email. Check out alivecounseling.com for all my information, all my contact stuff. So would love to help you and best of luck.